You're listening to Ice.
Okay, all right. I've had enough of this. I'm getting off the show.
Dixon.
Absolute trash. This is, if I heard this, I'd be like, this is absolute garbage. I wouldn't even consider rating it.
Sit down and buckle up.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Records and Rants. We're going to get right into this one. We have a lot to talk about. We're talking about the band Creed. But before we get into that, we have to address something really important, super controversial, guys. I hope you stick around to listen to this. Got a lot to talk about, and I cannot do this without Dixon. How the heck are you?
Ice, you really summed it all up there. I'm doing well. Thanks for having us. Thanks for hosting this.
Oh, of course, of course. You know what? I'm gonna stop you right there, though, Dixon.
Yes.
Don't you have something to answer for? And that I have something to answer for too. Apparently, we are disgusting misogynists.
Let's just stop the music right now.
Yeah. Record scratch.
Record scratch. Stop the music. We had a very, I would argue, neutral and fair analysis of the career of Taylor Swift. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I would agree. And as everyone knows, this is our episode from last week. Where we discussed Taylor Swift, and we were very fair, very impartial.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was something we want to talk about. And if you're not familiar with the show, this is what we kind of do. We take an artist, we take an album, we take a genre, a song, maybe a live performance here and there, whatever it might be. We kind of talk about it, break it down, and it's kind of fun because you haven't heard a lot of these things that we talk about. Some of the things I haven't heard of. Basically, we kind of go in neutral. We talk about it. We talk about what we like, what we dislike. Usually we have a rant at the end, and we go from there, right? So Taylor Swift was one of the people we wanted to talk about for a long time. I know it's something you wanted to bring up, and I wanted to talk about because Taylor Swift is everywhere, right? It's T Swift. She's the ultimate.
Yes, absolutely.
So we talked about Taylor Swift, and we both agreed. Good songwriter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Decent artist.
Sure.
You know, our complaints were some of the Swifties are cringe.
Yeah.
And Taylor, go ahead.
Yeah. And then I said maybe she doesn't deserve all the fame that she got just because she might have been manufactured. Basically, I was just trying to say, at least from my perspective, it was like, well, okay, she's a good artist, but I don't understand the crazy popularity surrounding her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we both thought that.
No, for sure, 100%. Because you, like you said, you had mentioned she might be an industry plant after her father bought the record company that she was employed at, starting at 14 years old.
Yeah.
We talked about the fact that we loved Midnights. We saw the evolution as an artist.
Yeah. Oh my God, I forgot we praised that album.
We literally praised Midnights. The only place on the internet where you're going to hear two dudes praise Midnights. You heard it.
Literally.
You can hear it right now. Yes.
Yeah, so then after all of that, after all of that, we got two comments.
Yes.
One was from our buddy Nada Ahmed NZ7Y. Not even sure if that's a real person. And Crafting Ranger. Crafting Ranger said, "This made me laugh. Sounds like a bunch of men who hate women being good. LOL."
Oh boy.
You know what, Ranger? I got something to say to you. Have you ever seen anything else that we talk about? No, you probably haven't, because you wouldn't be saying such stupid stuff in the comments. We criticize, and we were talking about this, Dixon BTS. Right. 95% of the bands that we talk about, we criticize, and arguably much harsher than we did with Taylor Swift. And it doesn't matter their identity. It doesn't matter their sex, their gender, whatever. It could be a group of men, group of women, and we just we dump on people sometimes.
And I recall there's two instances I want to direct the attention to of anybody who might have a question. The first one was when we talked about Nickelback. We talked about openly how Nickelback is probably the worst band of all time. That criticism is justified.
Yeah.
We also talked about how disgusting Chad Kroger's lyrics are in the song P-Star Dancing, how he talks about, just sexual things and acts. And we said, this is pretty raunchy stuff, and it's really not the best thing of all time, right?
Yeah, it's not putting women in a good light.
Yes, exactly. The fact that he talks about she's got a pair that's nice to stare at, we
Yeah,
took that down.
we tore that apart.
Said, yeah, we hated that. Also, I'm not a Celine Dion fan. I couldn't care less about Celine Dion. I know the same goes for you. We made
Mhm.
a whole point of talking about how Rolling Stone omitted her from the 200 greatest singers list of,
Yeah,
or 200 greatest voices, whatever the list was. They totally omitted Celine Dion. Even you and I can recognize, regardless of her sex, assigned gender, whatever we're going by this week, that she deserves a spot on that list because she's good, she's talented, and so I don't know where this is coming from.
Absolutely. We so like Dixon said, we've been on the show historically in defense of women, criticized all genders, all walks of life. So for
Yes,
people to come on and say that for a video that was very lightly criticizing someone,
yeah,
it's kind of wild. And I don't know if that's indicative of the time that we're in, where like men, I guess we can't, I guess we're not allowed to criticize women, because that's pretty much what you're saying, is that if we have any
yeah.
negative sentiment, then we're just we're just misogynists, I guess.
No, for sure. I guess that's what it is. And like you said, we are equal opportunity. We really don't care what it is. When it comes to music, we have I'd argue a keen ear. We know what's good. Um, we know what we like.
Hmm.
Maybe we're certainly not experts. Maybe we don't know what's good, but we know what we like. We know what sounds good.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're covering different spectrums and artists and things like that, you can compare them. So it really has nothing to do with anybody who they are. Granted, we might have touched on Taylor's personality a little bit, but still, it wasn't this.
Yeah,
Oh,
right, right.
yeah, Taylor Swift sucks so bad. Yeah, Taylor. Oh wow. Oh, carry me away. This is a love story. Oh, that's so gross.
Yeah,
No, there was none
yeah,
of that.
exactly. I don't even know if we brought up the issue with all the exes. I don't even think we
No,
brought
we
that up.
did.
That,
We
that
did.
she makes
No,
song
we
about the ex.
did.
You go online right now and find me two dudes talking about Taylor Swift who aren't going to make fun of her about the exes. Find them right now.
Exactly. 100%. Does anybody know that like Barstool exists? Caleb Presley, Theo
Yeah.
Vaughn. Have you ever heard these guys talk about things like this? It's ridiculous.
Oh my god, it really is. I was I was expecting someone to say like, oh, you jealous of Taylor Swift or something like that.
Mhm.
The last thing I
Right.
expected was to be called misogynist. I just thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, that is pretty funny, and it's completely unfounded, completely ridiculous. I've talked to, well, maybe one or two Swifties that listen to the show, and they're like, "Well, this really wasn't all that critical at all." And like I said, I think we were very
Oh
fair. But
wow.
that's how we always are. I think we're very fair. And if it's bad, we think it's bad. We're going to tell you. We're going to say that. And um, I guess one of the other points we could talk to is the Smiths. The Smiths are like sad boy, the original emo, these androgynous dudes that are kind of like, well, I'm so sad and I don't know why. And you loved that band.
Yeah.
I love that band.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe that's, criticism is going to be that Morrissey is Morrissey, and he's a little out there, of course.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Forget that. Don't listen to that episode.
Yeah. Scratch.
But no, nonetheless, we're fair, we're balanced, we cover it from all angles, and I think the criticism is unfounded. Go ahead, listen to that episode for yourself. Tell us what you think. Swifty or not, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really curious. Maybe we'll put up a vote. How misogynist are we? That's what we'll. Yeah, well.
And you mentioned too that was like a 75% like to dislike ratio, which was one of the highest. It's
Mhm.
one of our highest charting episodes in terms of likes, in terms of interaction, in terms of watch through, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for
Yeah.
such a controversial take that we had, that just by us saying, oh, maybe Taylor Swift isn't all that great, or
Right.
or even us just saying we don't understand the
Mhm.
rabid fan base. Yeah,
Right.
a lot of people actually like that. I think we're at like 80% now, like to dislike ratio. So
Oh wow, that's a pretty good ratio.
yeah, no, it's not bad at all. I would imagine the people that call us misogynists were the ones that that downvoted us, or thumbs down or whatever, disliked. But you know what? I'm going to say this. It is what it is. I completely stand by what we say. And if you think it's misogynist, then that's your problem.
That's exactly it. Couldn't have said it better myself. And I'm glad 80% of you agree with us at the very least.
Yeah, definitely. Really thankful for it. Well, you know what, Dixon, I hate to say it, I kind of like those comments. It gets me fired up. I like to have a back. Yeah. I like to have a back and forth.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. That's what's great about this is we encourage these comments.
Mm-hmm.
We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you want to talk about, what music. We did a viewer suggestion video not too long ago on a band XTC that we hadn't heard of. Speaking of comments, and this might be a good segue. I want to bring up a comment on the that came on the Friends video.
Okay.
So we reviewed the Beach Boys album Friends, and my take on it was it's the most underrated, well, one of the most underrated. I mean, maybe you can make the case for a few other albums that the Beach Boys have. I think it's one of their most underrated albums that they released. And you sort of agreed. You weren't necessarily a Beach Boys fan, but you said, hey, I really liked the production. I really liked it. It was kind of like it went from really boisterous and high level production to a more stripped down sound post Pet Sounds. But this guy, Javier Tenas, Tenas, a month ago commented, yes, better than Pet Sounds is what he commented regarding Friends.
Wow.
That's a pretty strong take.
That is a hot take if I ever heard one.
It is. No, it definitely is a hot take. And that's something we encourage and something we enjoy. And just like Javier, shout out to Javier, you might get a mention on the show. Certainly, what was their names? Ahmed XTC and
Ahmed XTC and something Ranger.
Yeah, something Ranger. Yes.
Yeah. Hold on. Stand by. I'm going to get it right here. Crafting Ranger said that.
Okay. All right. It looks like an AI generated photo. Is that correct?
Yeah, it does. It does look like that. Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate it. That's great. Thank you. And you know what? Dive into the channel. I guarantee there's something on there for you. I guarantee there's a take you're going to agree with, because, like you said, we do a lot of dumping on occasion on these bands.
We do,
and we're happy to do it. We do a service in reality.
Oh yeah, we really do. We give you the takes that people don't want you to hear, I guess. We go against the grain. I'll say that. We go against the grain sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. And there's always that. I think they're pigeonholing us into these two podcast bros. We kind of just want to do this for ourselves. We really did. We wanted to talk about music and share it with you all, because I think some of our takes are hilarious and they're pretty decent.
Yeah.
I'm not like a Joe Rogan, a Red Meat. It's only in one plane that I listen to. You're certainly not like that either. And I think that's kind of the pigeonhole that they're putting us in, that it's like these two podcast bros. I think they're the ultimate conversationalists.
Yeah, that could very well be it. It could be a little bit of a podcast bro fatigue that these guys are seeing.
You can't blame you. Maybe we were a little late to the party, but this show is definitely unique. And I think I want to take you higher.
Wow.
Can I take you higher?
I can't do that voice. It's a unique one.
That was pretty spot on. That wasn't bad at all.
Oh, guys, we're talking about Creed today. This one is an interesting one because I haven't thought about Creed in quite some time. I'm not going to lie.
Neither have I, and I'll tell you why I thought about Creed. I was scrolling on something. I was looking up summer music festivals or concerts, or it was an ad. I can't remember what it was, but I got an ad, or I found this Blue Ridge Rock Festival. It's held in September, somewhere in Virginia, evidently in the Blue Ridge Mountains, but they're kind of all over the East Coast, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And I saw the lineup, and the lineup for this festival is absolutely incredible. If you're into this rock music, you are in for a treat, because I'm amazed by this. I'm gonna list the lineup, most of the lineup.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Slipknot, Pantera, Shinedown, Five Finger Death Punch, Limp Bizkit, Evanescence, Stain, Megadeth, Danzig, and Danzig is playing.
God.
Danzig is its entirety plus his greatest hits. Lamb of God, Rise Against, Cypress Hill, Chevelle, Coheed and Cambria. Weren't you a Coheed and Cambria boy back in the day?
No way, Coheed.
Yeah, Coheed. Yeah,
yeah. Our ex friend got me onto it, and I have to say they have an interesting sound. I really enjoy the vocals too. They're a good band.
I think they are. It doesn't end. You have Vince Neil, Machine Head. Now, from what I understand, Machine Head is a very underground metal band. They don't do a whole lot of live performances.
Okay,
we got something for everybody. I feel like I'm the promoter for this.
This is great.
Insane Clown Posse, Vanilla Ice, one of your favorites.
Come on, no way.
Yeah, Flow Rida, 3-6 Mafia, 2 Chains. I'm serious. This is amazing. Of Mice and Men.
Oh my god.
Soldier Boy. It really goes on. CKY. Remember CKY?
Yes.
From, yeah.
Oh my god, CKY.
I haven't heard CKY or the name CKY in years. I really couldn't get over this lineup, and I'm not the biggest fan of these bands, but it's absolutely wild. Some of these guys, it's just wild. So I'm looking through the lineup.
That is so cool. Wait, Dixon, really quick. What's the name of this again?
It's called Blue Ridge Rock Festival.
Blue Ridge Rock Festival. Okay.
Yeah. 3 Days Grace. I don't know if I mentioned them.
Oh,
Lamb
no,
of God.
you didn't.
Motionless in White. Oh my God, Motionless in White.
Oh wow.
It's really Blue October, Black Label Society. I think we talked about them already. Really really solid lineup. If you're into this music, this is the place you want to be. This, I wonder what tickets are. They're probably $5,000.
Yeah, this is actually unbelievable. I cannot believe this lineup. That's like you said, this is quintessential. If you like this music. Wow.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely early 2000s ICP. Might get a little rowdy with ICP there. We know how those things kind of act, but that's all right. So then I'm looking through the lineup, and I see Scott Stapp. And Scott Stapp, I'm like, wait a second, who's Scott Stapp? And it said above his name, the voice of Creed.
Yes.
And then there's a qualifier next to his name. He is playing a free on-site pre-party for campers. So you could camp there, evidently, right?
Yes.
And I'm thinking, Scott Stapp, Creed. If there's a lineup that Creed should be a part of, this is it. And why is his show free? Why is it a separate? I mean, in theory, I could just go there and camp and listen to the guy from Creed. And so I'm like, whatever happened to Creed? and I'm like, it's because Creed was one of those bands, that Nickelback era, early 2000s, when this sort of music was on the top 40 radio, on the charts. You could tune into whatever the hot 101, whatever the top 40 radio station in your area was, you would hear a pseudo hard rock song at some point during your day in the early 2000s.
Oh yeah,
2000s,
absolutely.
late 90s.
It was huge. That was a big alternative time.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So Creed was in the mix. I mean, Creed had hits, which was wild to me to think that now Scott Stapp is kind of on his own doing his thing. So I'm like, I gotta listen. I gotta look back into Creed. We gotta check Creed out, just because we had talked about Nickelback and we gave Nickelback a lot of flack. And it turns out, spoiler alert, if you haven't listened to our episode on Nickelback, the criticism they get is pretty much deserved, with the exception of their production and their guitar playing. Right? Would you kind of agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
And so I remember Creed being sort of like on the same level as Nickelback. Nickelback, then getting a lot of flack. So I looked them up, and they're active from 94 to 2004, and then from 2009 to 2012. This is from Wikipedia. Creed was prominent in the post-grunge movement of the mid-1990s. Sold over 28 million records in the United States, 53 albums worldwide. The 9th best-selling artist of the first decade of the 2000s. So from 2000 to 2010, they were the 9th best-selling artist, which is big. You had a lot of things happening in that early millennia era when it comes to music. They also won a Grammy, which was huge, and they had a Christian influence and vibe to them. So I'm listening to. I pull up what I put in YouTube. I put in Creed greatest hits.
Okay.
So I put it on YouTube, and I had known their hits, and I revisited them, and they're pretty decent songs. They're good songs.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of songs I didn't know either. And those songs that I didn't know really, really aren't bad. And I don't know about you, but my favorite Creed song of all time comes from the album Weathered. And if you're not familiar with the album art for Weathered, go ahead and do yourself a favor. Look it up right now because it might be the worst album art I've ever seen anywhere.
I
Really.
I do not know what they were thinking for this. Ironically, the album art for this coincides with their music video for a song off of this album called Bullets. Have you ever seen that?
I saw. Yes, I've seen Bullets. Yeah.
So while we're on art, really quick, the music video for Bullets, like Dixon said, from their album Weathered, 2001. This is technically one of their later albums, but
right.
Music video for this is so hilariously bad that it's actually kind of unbelievable. And the CGI on this video is, I mean, of course, this was made back in the day, but during that time there was better CGI out that they could have had, and they spent like millions of dollars on this video, which is like the funniest thing. But yeah, if you guys are listening, go watch Creed Bullets music video right now. You will not be sorry.
Absolutely. And while we're on Weathered, this album, it's an absolute banger. My Sacrifice will, if you listen to that in the gym, that'll get you pumped up. Like you're driving to work like on a Friday morning. It's like, all right, the weekend's coming, it's over. Like this would get you pumped up.
100%.
My favorite song, One Last Breath, Hold Me Now, I'm 6 feet from the edge and I'm thinking maybe 6 feet ain't so far down.
Wow.
So you're going to really enjoy this too. This is from Wikipedia, and I didn't know this before, and I didn't even know this was going to be a crossover episode because it sort of is becoming that.
Exciting crossover! All right.
Musically, the album was touted as the band's version of Joshua Tree.
Oh come on! Well, of all crossovers, we got to go back to the GD friggin' U2.
That effing Joshua Tree. I wish somebody would cut it down and be done with this Joshua Tree.
For God's sakes, burn the thing down. No one cares about Joshua Tree.
It was so they said that that musically was going to set them apart. So this is impressive, and this is a fact about Weathered, but I think it's more an impressive fact about the band Creed itself. The album debuted at number 1 on the U.S. Billboard 200, the band's second consecutive studio album to top the chart, and remained at the top spot for 8 consecutive weeks, the longest consecutive run since the Beatles' album One the year prior. And they had 6 singles on the Billboard Hot 100 from that album.
Wait, from that album? Are you serious? They had 6
from
of
Weathered.
them.
Yes, and that's like, and I hate to jump right into the albums themselves, but like this is a pretty decent, impressive centerpiece lineup from just one album from this band that basically got written off.
Yeah, to see them go through success like that and then just disappear is pretty incredible. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up Weathered just because, well, one, for the Bullets music video, because I really want to talk about that. But yeah, this album, it's honestly, because I skimmed through all of them because it's their discography isn't that big, but this is easily my favorite out of all of them, I would say.
Oh, it's a solid listen. It's a really solid listen from beginning to end. And like you said, they weren't that prolific. They had 4 studio albums: My Own Prison in 97, Human Clay in 99, Weathered in 2001, and then Full Circle in 2009, which wasn't all that long ago.
Yeah.
So they had they reunited for I'm trying to get this together.
Oh, no,
I wanted to get these facts straight because these are pretty shocking facts. They released 3 consecutive multi-platinum albums, with their album Human Clay being certified diamond. They then went on to and then so like where do they go? What happened to them? Well, they were criticized by Rolling Stone and Rolling Stone listeners and readers as the worst. They ranked them the worst artist of the 1990s.
Now,
Which, go ahead.
No, I'm just shocked by that. That's
Yeah,
that's crazy to me. Was there, because I didn't find this? What was the reasoning for that?
so I just readers poll. So it's a readers poll, worst band of the 90s, right?
Oh, okay.
So we know if we're going to be based on readers or listeners, maybe they have some hot takes. So my take on it was when I first saw that first sort of they're the worst band of the 90s. When you think about that, I guess you can think about the 90s as a whole because you had a lot of really good music.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So, but this is what Rolling Stone said in their breakdown of what the fans or the readers voted for. It's no surprise that Creed won this poll. It wasn't even close. This is a band so hated that their own fans sued them after a famously bad show in Chicago in 2003, which I never read. The band reformed in 2009 for a reunion tour, but their fans have moved on. Sales were so horrendous in Birmingham that tickets were lowered to 75 cents. In 2000, the group could sell out arenas within seconds, which is true. Creed is basically as popular as Alter Bridge right now. So Alter Bridge is the band that the remaining members of Creed, without Scott Stapp, formed, and they still evidently are touring. They're still around.
Wow, that's quite a dig. Then, if they said that Creed's as popular as Alter, wow, that's a dig.
Yeah, so that's kind of a sad thing. So, but I think that looking at Creed and listening to their music, and I guess revisiting their music, these guys aren't really all that bad. I think they're definitely better than Nickelback. I think their lyrics have more substance. Their chord progressions, which I know you're going to get into, are a little bit predictable.
Yeah,
but it's not terrible music. And I don't think, considering the depth of music in the 90s, I don't think they're anywhere really close to being the worst band of the 90s. I don't know what you think.
And yeah, and I'm gonna be in total excuse me. I'm gonna be in total agreement with you here, Dixon, because you listen to the band Creed, and I see another rock band, right? But at the same time, I feel like there's something unique here, or depth to it. They have their own unique sound, and it's not just boring. It makes me wanna die listening, slogging through their albums. Because I listened to a lot of their songs here, whereas with Nickelback, I listened to all their music, and I kind of wanted to just like end it. Like it was like that was painful. But with Creed, it's different. And like you said, their chord progressions, yeah, some of them might be predictable, but I would argue not as predictable as Nickelback's. Even going further than that, I would say that they're actually pretty good. I mean, even some of their guitar solos that they rip out here, I think they're fantastic. Like, there was one on the song, I believe it was Illusion. But yeah, that was oh, I'm sorry, no, it was called 1,000 Faces. But yeah, I mean, the production, you go from 1997 with My Own Prison. The production value, you can't lie, like it wasn't as good later albums. Full Circle has great production value, as does Weathered. But their earlier albums, maybe not so much. But I wouldn't even attack them for that. I mean, listen to it's a more raw sound, which is kind of interesting, at least for me, for Creed. But then as you go on, you get like this kind of more cool, I guess. We say that a lot, but I mean, it definitely has some meaning to it. It has a more sound. It hits you. It's more impactful. And like I said, the culmination of all of this is from Weathered, and
for sure, it's such a good album.
I even like Bullets. I know I made fun of the music video, but I like Bullets.
That's a good song too.
Like you said, My Sacrifice, Stand Here With Me, and One Last Breath. Like those are just fantastic songs, and you have to look at their entire composition. They have a lot of good hits.
Yeah, they do. Their hits are good, and I think we talked about this with Nickelback. You hate to compare them to Nickelback, but they're in that same wheelhouse, that same genre, that same era. And I think that I think you can lump bands like this together. The thing is with Creed is that going back to their production, like you mentioned, I think the layering of their production is better than Nickelback or these other bands in that same era, and that you can kind of pick out and hear each aspect of it, and it's not so loud. You can understand the
Yes.
lyrics, and I think that they're using Scott Stapp's voice as a an instrument. You know, it's fitting in. It's kind of driving where the song is going. Yeah, those peaks and valleys, and that's definitely one of their strong points. And you can hear the lyrics coming through that definitely have more substance and a little bit more meaning, and certainly have some of the songs definitely have that Christian influence to them as they were kind of trying to do in their career.
Yeah, that's an absolutely great point. There's the layering of the sounds, but they have a lot of. It's hard to describe unless you're listening to it. But there's a lot of space in between, and it's not just like it's not like a muddy like Nickelback. It's not like a muddy just mess of like crashing guitar power chords and all this just rash sound that's coming through. With Creed, you can really, like you said, pick out the individual instrumentals that are happening, and like you said, using Scott Stapp, his vocals, because he has a very unique voice. They're using that as an instrument as well, and it really complements everything that they do with their composition. So I think to go and say that they're one of the worst bands is like it's kind of funny. And Dixon, I'm thinking back, like some people might make fun of it. Maybe you might hear that in passing, but I don't think that's to such an extent that people make fun of Nickelback.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think they're deserving of that criticism. I think that Nickelback was still active in the '90s. I don't know where they fell on this list. I maybe should have dug into that a little deeper.
They're actually I'm sorry. They're actually they're number 2.
That is so funny.
This list, I kind of almost want to go through this one of these days. Dave Matthews is number 10.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic.
Nirvana's on here.
Well,
number 5.
We've touched on.
We've hinted on that one.
And I want to talk about Nirvana one of these days because, we got a comment about how Nirvana. We kind of said, maybe Nirvana was a little bit overrated.
Yeah.
And we kind of got a comment that Kurt Cobain, Nirvana kind of changed everything. So I think they're worth a second look, at least at a deeper level than the look that I was giving them. I don't know about you, but I think if I were the angry person I was pre Taylor Swift, I probably would have agreed that Nirvana should definitely be on that list. But it goes back to the point, like what happened to Nirvana. So you kind of mentioned they don't get as much hate as Nickelback does.
Oh, you mean what happened to Creed?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Creed. Yeah, excuse me. What did I say, Nirvana?
Yeah.
Well, we know what happened to Nirvana. But,
oh God.
You know exactly what happened.
Yeah, we know exactly what happened there.
Now I'm thinking about Nirvana.
Future episode.
Yeah, for sure. Future episode. But it begs the question, what happened to Creed? Because Rolling Stone even mentions on their list, and they're dumping on them in that short paragraph, they would have sold out any stadium in 2000. Where I grew up might have been some unsavory families around. The family cat of the one family we live near, their cat's name was Creed.
After the band. That's
after
incredible.
The band. Yes, yeah. Creed was everywhere. You knew Creed without being a Creed fan. Like these things are happening in society at the time. You hear them on the radio, and maybe they were a little bit cheesy, but now definitely on a second look, they're definitely decent. So I'm like, well, what happened to Creed?
Yeah,
Creed. The singer Scott Stapp takes the blame for the breakup in 2004.
Yeah. So so it all kind of centers around him is my understanding. But yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he says that he was dabbling into some substances. He's still in a program today. Now this was talked about in February of 2023. This was with John Christ, another formerly canceled individual, on his podcast, and he says he got into some things he shouldn't have. And it was basically personal issues between Scott Stapp and the rest of the band. Now, I don't know how you succeed then as a unit if you have one guy versus everybody else in the band. I mean, just destined not to work.
Yeah, because when you have some kind of disagreement like that, especially with the lead singer of the band, it's simply going to fall apart. And my understanding that because Scott was getting into kind of the, let's say, quote unquote rock star lifestyle, that the other bandmates were saying, "Hey, man, we are not living this Christian values that we hold so in such high regard. We're not doing that anymore. We become something that we're not."
No, yeah, for sure. That's and they broke up, and the band went on. The band themselves went on to do their own thing, and Scott Stapp released 3 solo albums, the most recent being in 2019. But to me, Creed is Scott Stapp, and I don't usually do this, and I don't make the comparison, but you don't have his voice with Creed's songs and Creed's progressions in their lyrics. There really is no Creed. You could replicate that sound, of course, and he's probably doing that too. But in reality, that moment in time, that is Creed. He is Creed with his voice, I think.
100% agree. It's just one of those bands where the vocals kind of make it. I mean, sure, the guys playing the instruments might be talented. Brian Marshall, Mark Tremonti on guitar, Scott Phillips on drums. Like those guys, they might be talented, but if Scott Phillips leaves Creed, no one's going to care. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying, but
and it's true, and it's true.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's what's I think is a testament maybe to Creed, and maybe it said something about their lasting power, is that I didn't know anybody in that band up until I didn't know that was Scott Stapp was Scott. I had no idea. I didn't know about Tremaine and all these other guys that are really talented musicians.
Right.
And I think you had some sort of a sense of what was happening in that early 2000s, late 90s. Like you knew the Hanson brothers.
Yeah.
you knew the Hanson brothers.
By the way, they're also on that list. I just want to say
this is actually one of the best lists I've ever seen. We should look into that.
Yeah, we actually should.
You kind of knew that Dave Grohl was in Nirvana, then he went on to start the Foo Fighters. Like you had a general understanding of individual artists within these units. I don't think you had that with Creed. I still don't think you do. So I think that's like maybe says something about either the management of Creed or how they manage themselves or whatever it is. That just maybe weren't built to last.
Yeah, it looks like, and it's probably really hard if you have a band. All these guys are all about Christian values, saying that they're not living the life anymore. That is probably going to happen if you are a Christian band and get wildly famous rock songs to the general public. You're going to have drugs thrown at you. You're going to have a ton of money. You're going to have women all over you constantly. Like, you really can't do that anymore. And at least from what I read, and I could be wrong here, but it seems like Scott was into that. Everyone else kind of wasn't. But also Scott wanted to I guess he wanted to go do his own thing. There were a lot of disagreements between the band. I don't know if you could clear that up. Am I right? Am I right saying that?
Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah, because he kind of wanted to do his own thing, and they had this clash of culture and virtues and values. They tried it again. Obviously, it just didn't work, or they just weren't interested. They haven't officially broken up as of 2012. They're just on hiatus. Scott Stapp, I mentioned before, he released 3 solo albums. And at one point, there was an article in 2014 that he was homeless, that he was he was looking for funding for his next project.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah. So evidently, he got it together that he had an album put together in 2019. But then going back to Scott, if he kind of maybe turned the tide and kind of left that behind. Now he's on a stage. Well, maybe he's on a lower stage, but he's with Insane Clown Posse somewhere in Virginia.
This
summer. So why didn't maybe you should have just got like a different band and kept doing what you were doing. If this is how you're gonna live, that's if you're okay with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you listened to any of his single stuff.
I really did it. No.
it's different, and unfortunately, it just sounds like the singer from Creed, because obviously it is him, with a, I don't know, it's not the same. The lyrics aren't the same. Everything is very lackluster, and like, I'll put it this way: if you put one of his songs and then one of Creed, the band songs, next to each other, you'd be able to pick out like, oh, this is the Scott Stapp like when he did a solo career, and this is a Creed song, even if you didn't know prior who they came from, because I don't know, they're just something different, and I don't know if maybe it was a creative difference. Like, I want to make this kind of music. Well, as it turns out, that I guess that doesn't sell. You probably should have stuck with Creed. And like you said, just get bandmates that are going to be like, yeah, dude, we'll do all that. I'm sure you could have found someone to do that.
100%, 100%. You know, you definitely, Creed could have still been going strong to this day.
Probably it would have been a Nickelback incident, you know?
Yeah, it would have been. So that's what's so, I guess, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. But I wanted to talk about it just because it was like they were here for like a minute, and then you never heard from Creed ever again. Like
no, yeah,
that was over. You know,
it's interesting. They were pervasive. They were in a lot of pop culture. They scored like music, or I'm sorry, movie tracks. They were like the theme song. It wasn't Can You Take Me Higher? That was oh my god, that was like a super popular. It wasn't one of their songs in Armageddon.
That's Aerosmith, I believe.
Okay,
or maybe it was a different one. Well, the Armageddon theme song was Aerosmith, but that soundtrack, like in the summer of like '98 or whenever that movie came out, that soundtrack was everywhere. That was like the hot thing. So they might be on there, you know. I never saw the movie.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, but yeah. Anyway, they were definitely in like a lot of movies.
Yeah, they were.
And stuff like that. So.
They did either the halftime show or the pre-show for one of the Super Bowls.
Oh, really?
And they played. It's become a meme that's just been around like the last year or two. But the song is "Can You Take Me Higher?" and somebody is like either launched like out of a cannon, or they're on like some sort of rope in the sky or something. Like something's happening that they're literally translating "Can you take me higher" to a visual point that you could see while you're watching the Super Bowl.
Oh my god, that's great.
It really is. It's fantastic. So you know, you have to give Creed credit. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on this one. I think they get made fun of a little more than they should. I think they're like an actually good band, and you know, that's their prerogative if they don't want to be part of the rock lifestyle. But they could have done that. And you know what? I think Scott, overall, the biggest criticism I can make of it is probably of Scott Stapp himself, that he shouldn't have done this. He should have he should have never left, because like he's not popular. I've never even heard of him prior to this. So
no, for sure.
I don't know.
It's a sad state of affairs for Creed. It could have been so much more. You know, and you listen to. I'm not listening to something on my phone in the car or whatever. I'm listening to like an alternative terrestrial radio station wherever I am, and you really don't hear Creed all that often. Like you hear early 2000s stuff, you hear mid 2000s stuff, you hear stuff from the 90s, you hear Nickelback on occasion. You just don't hear a lot of Creed, and it's just so interesting because they were just everywhere. Like you said, they were everywhere, and it was just so shocking to me to think, what happened to Creed? Well, now we know. Scott, come on, man, come back to us. Get the band back together.
Come on, Scott. You done goofed. Just admit it. Come back. Everything's gonna be fine. Could you imagine like a Creed revival tour? Do you think that's my final question on this? Do you think if they had a revival tour, do you think that there would be any kind of interest in it, or do you think it would flop just like their last tour did when they were selling tickets for 75 cents? I'd honestly be very curious, because I feel like they've kind of become a meme now, and I feel like it might elevate them higher,
for sure.
some may say. So, but yeah, what do you think?
No, I think you're right. I think maybe that was too soon, like too soon for Creed to like make a comeback. Like, I think that now you definitely have this era of nostalgia that's happening with the millennial folks, us ourselves included. That I think that Creed would be worth revisiting. I think they should do like, and don't give me any new Creed. I want to hear Creed. I want them to do what U2 does that nobody wants to hear, is that take all your old albums and just record them again and release them, and then do a tour based on the Weathered tour. Who cares? Nobody knows.
Yeah. Who the hell cares?
Yeah, just do that. Just do what all these sellouts do and do that again. Or it would be like a really cool, like, well, maybe they're doing it with this rock festival I mentioned, but get all those acts together that you loved, that you knew every song of their hits, and just get them together and play the hits like on a nationwide tour and see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm very curious to see how it's going to go for Scott there. I'd love to know, but
we should try to like find tickets and find out where this is and see if we can get there.
That'd be awesome.
Drive, fly, and just to see what Scott Stopp does. Maybe, you know what, Scott, you're going to be at that festival. Why don't you come on the show, talk to us about your experiences, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, Scott, open invitation.
Yep,
you're welcome to come on the show anytime, man.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. We'd love to pick your brain a little bit. And you know, our arms are wide open, and we're here for you. So just take the invitation.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, I think so that's Creed. So we all
we're
all
on
know.
The same page.
Yeah, we're all on the same page now. So we this is this was a fun one because I hadn't thought about it, and when I was starting to look into it, they really did just disappeared, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But
it did. I want to thank you for indulging this, because I'm like, but this is something we have to talk about. Like,
no, of course.
I couldn't let this go, and I appreciate the fact that you're also just as curious, because we kind of have like that little you know, that autist sort of hyper focused brain that we share on occasion. So that's stuff like this works out for us. So, so now we know, like you said.
Yeah. It really does, yeah. So hopefully, you know, maybe a little autism will hit me, and I'll think of something to look into next time.
I love it.
Have we talked about what we're gonna do next week?
You know, I think we should start making this a surprise, because this is going to precondition our listeners, and we're gonna have this outrage festival that we had on with Taylor Swift.
I think you're right.
We lost some subscribers, but you know what? We're still moving forward. We're not worried about that. We're moving forward, talking about what we want, and then we go from there.
Yeah, we did. We lost about, I think, like 3, like right off the bat, like within the first hour. But then,
wow,
we got a bunch back, and even more than last time. Closing on 130. We're gonna be hitting 200 before you know it, Dixon.
We are on the road to 200, and if I recall correctly, you had established, I think, back in March, the road to 100 would be feasible by June. We're in June.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's right.
we're way past the road. We're on the expressway. We got off the exit, and we're on the expressway to 200. We're on the 200 highway right now.
I love it.
And we're bumping Creed, and we don't give an S what you guys say.
Yeah. We don't give an S. We're unapologetic. We're respectful. We're respectfully unapologetic. We'll say that.
Wow, that's a great tagline.
Respectfully. Might have to do that on the podcast banner. Oh yeah, guys, by the way, you'll be coming to YouTube podcasts, whatever the hell it is. We don't know what it is yet, but but yeah, YouTube has a platform now, like a separate compartment, I guess, for podcasts, which is what this show is.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully we could get on that and then get exposure, maybe break in, or just like more discoverability, even though I don't think ours is too bad right now, but
no, we don't.
It'll be good. So we hope to see you guys there as well. Maybe we'll be my favorite podcast.
I sure hope so. We're all organic, no ads, nothing going on.
Self-made, yeah. Wow, I guess. Nothing going on here.
Nothing happening. So just smash that subscribe button, click that like button, share this with your friends. Do us all a favor right now. All the millennials out there listening, share this video with 5 of your friends, because I know you all are going to remember Creed. You're thinking about Creed deep down, and this is the information that you never knew that you needed.
That's right. Share it with them. Let them know that we're here. That we'll take anyone's opinion, positive or negative. We love all you guys.
I love every opinion.
We all got them, right? And
we all got them.
Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you guys next week for another exciting, possibly controversial episode. See you next time.
Peace.